So, as Jamie said, I'm Stephen McLennan. I'm currently an Employability Development Officer with East Lothian Council, and I was previously a CLD worker with Aberdeenshire Council. So the presentation will sort of cover both aspects of both types of digital platforms and interactions that we've had with learners. Oh, there we go. So the context is Aberdeenshire's a large part of the north of Scotland. We've got roughly 267,000 people living across 6 rural areas, split across sort of north, central, and south Aberdeenshire. And then I've moved to East Lothian, which has a slightly smaller population, but it's one of the fastest growing local authorities in Scotland. Also has rural areas the same as Aberdeenshire. Originally from the Western Isles, so I can speak a bit to that and all. So back in the summer of 2019, we had a sort of eSchool online digital project with eSchool, the National Digital School. And it was a partnership approach. We went to them looking for a test of change to prove that we could get digital to work within the context of Aberdeenshire for our community learning and development. We had a hybrid model of that, so we went whole hog. We just didn't do online. We'll do online and classroom at the same time. And we used our ESOL classes as the basis for that. We had learners based right across Aberdeenshire. We had people attending in person in Inverurie. We had learners in Peterhead, Huntly, Fraserburgh, and attending from home as well. And the delivery took place from Stornoway, originally in the digital school itself. They've got a physical building, but then moved to the teacher's own home. So we were fully immersed within trying to do everything that we were doing online, and it was really for that sort of proof of concept. We had a variety of things. We were able to do yes/no questions. We had discussions. We had learners working in one-to-ones and groups as well. And we had upwards of 13 people. Not everyone attended every lesson. So that stood us in really good stead when basically COVID happened and everything went a wee bit haywire. We were able to roll out Google for Education, now called Google Workspace, throughout our entire service. So everything on the 16th of March, when it all face-to-face contact stopped, we were, I think, down for roughly 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, we rolled this platform out. We did 65, we did training for over 65 CLD staff. And we focused initially just on Google Meet, so getting face-to-face contact back with our learners and young people as the first priority, and then moved on to more as in Google Classroom, which is a light virtual learning environment that's embedded within that Google Workspace platform. For secure one-to-ones, if a young person needed that individual support, we also had Attend Anywhere, which is what's used by our NHS colleagues for doctor appointments and other meetings. That led us to rolling out a full curriculum offer of 15 to 20 sessions a week, 2 hours a week, plus self-directed study of ESOL. We had 130 learners attending. We had emails going out. We had phone calls. We were able to get into a building, do letters. So we tried everything at that time to get people to come with us on this journey. But it also meant that we had to go to where they were as well. And I'll talk about some of the sort of barriers that local authorities may face using a variety of different tools. But WhatsApp's really popular in Scotland and the UK. WhatsApp is not really popular with local authorities and sort of data protection officers, but WhatsApp for Business is a potential halfway house and solution for those types of things. So we used WhatsApp as well to do some of that interaction, find out how the learners were doing, and they also started then sending their homework in via WhatsApp rather than using the Google Classroom. But they could start to learn how to use that environment when we were able to get them in through Google Meet and work with them through that screen sharing as we're doing now. Within the East Lothian context, it's a very different picture. In East Lothian, we're very restricted in our abilities of what we're able to use, what platforms we can use, and what tools we can use. So Emma shared a lovely Padlet link. I was not able to get onto that Padlet link or see anything because that's totally blocked by our firewalls. What we used or what we're using was Public Eye. So Public Eye is what your local council may use for broadcasting their sort of full council meetings and things like that. It is not a very usable platform, friendly platform to try and engage with learners, but you make do with what you've got. We now have a version of Microsoft Teams. We don't have the full Office 365 package, but at least we can meet, we can discuss, and we can engage with our learners through that to an extent. We're unable to access Google products on the corporate network unless we're accessing Glow as and when. And that is only for certain members of staff if you've been sort of granted that access. Zoom, we can book out someone from IT to unlock our computer, attend a meeting, and then it gets locked back up behind us. So, you know, it's a very different picture, one local authority to another local authority, in what is accessible and able to be delivered. The Shared Prosperity Fund, some of you most of you probably know actually, is the replacement to European social funds. And our plan in East Lothian is to invest in new Chromebooks for our staff and the Google platform. So Google products in its totality, but it means that we're having to create an entirely separate network and infrastructure out with the local authority. We're working with Edinburgh College to deliver micro-credential learning in venues across East Lothian, and the focus is on digital and data skills. Our adult literacy and numeracy, we do that, the core skills level 3, level 4. They're slightly out of date these days, but they still provide a very good basic introduction to using a computer. And our micro-credentials are focused on data skills, and they start at level SCQF level 4, which is just a unit. We build up to a full award, and then we go 5, level 6, and we're hoping supported transition into college if that's what the individual wants to do. Modern apprenticeship, graduate apprenticeship routes available as well. So how did we do it? So back in the Shire, we chose G Suite. The reason that we chose that was it's already used within Scotland education. So Education Scotland use it. It's secure. It's, you know, there's been data protection impact assessments done, and hopefully every local authority should already have one for their Glow side. And not that I'm trying to be funny, it should be a straight copy and paste right across. If it works in a school setting, it should work in a CLD setting. There is no difference. We purchased a domain, very minimal cost a year. That's basically just what supports the platform. It's free. So Google Workspace is free if you register as a higher education institution. That's basically the box that you need to tick when applying through Google. We rolled that out to our learners and staff. And when I say Google accounts, all you need is first name, last name. We don't need date of birth, we don't need address, we don't need anything like that to create a learner account. That means that we're not holding on to very much personal information within that space at all. We also invested in G Suite for Enterprise. Now that gives you some of the nice bells and whistles, breakout rooms, different polls, etc. And about £42 a year, it's cheaper than Zoom, or was cheaper than Zoom, but you can also move those licenses between people. So if you buy 10 for your organization and someone's not delivering, or you only need it for certain bits, you can move it from one person to another. And we also made sure we restricted who they could email. So we made sure that those learners and volunteers could only email ourselves with our corporate email addresses, or other organisations that we'd pre-approved that they could be potentially working with, like Lead Scotland or Enable Scotland or someone like that. And that just means that they're not going to potentially try and pretend to be someone from Aberdeenshire CLD. Not that we would expect any of our adult learners to do that, but a young person might decide that that's, you know, something a wee bit fun to try and do. Some of the barriers that we faced was the lack of devices and connection, Wi-Fi data. That was overcome in part through the use of Connecting Scotland and CLD devices. So the service invested in some devices, very similar to what we've had to do in East Lothian as well. There's also the new CLD third sector SCVO fund, and that I think is up to about £15,000. So Connecting Scotland may be finished, but there is another pot of money there specific for third sectors. The lack of the ITC skills, you know, that was a big barrier for us to try and overcome. But one of the good things about G Suite is everything's embedded in it. So you're not looking to download other apps if you're using a laptop. Everything's done through a single sign-on, and people become very familiar with what buttons to click where and when to get expected interactions out of it. We had time and family commitments impacting on learning, but we've been flexible in our current provision as well, and it is all about sort of scheduling classes, the use of independent learning, recorded material, and trying to make it all accessible to learners. The lack of the platform, we used the Shared Prosperity Fund, or will be using the Shared Prosperity Fund to try and roll that out. Opportunities and future plans. The blended learning, I think, is a potential good way to try and make some provision more sustainable. We've got other opportunities to engage where they are. So if they're attending from home, if they're attending from work, our digital class at the moment is an upskilling and reskilling class. We've got people attending from work. Their employers are keen for them to get some extra skills, especially because it's round about data handling. A commitment to face-to-face learning. So we've still got that commitment. Our SQA assessments, we did socially distant, we've done face-to-face, and I'm sure everybody's been busy in the last couple of months with other SQA assessments as well. And the beauty of online learning is you can record what you're saying and what you're doing, and learners can go back and revisit and relook or ask for clarification. And synchronous and asynchronous, trying to make sure that they've got a way to access help and support if they need it in real time, but also giving the option that they can sort of leave an email, leave a message, and someone will come back, but also that self-support, that group support from one another. The adult learning strategy, if you've had a look at that, there is a mention within that, produce an options appraisal for a national platform for adult learning. And I think I said at one point that was a personal high horse when a lot of COVID was going on. So this is just an example. I think someone mentioned Jamboard, and one of the things that you can do with Google and Jamboard, it's a very fast graphic, but you can sort of create something in Google Slides and then save it as an image. And this basically allows you to lock everything that you're seeing. and there's a lot out there on YouTube. There's a lot on Facebook groups. There's fantastic resources already done. So you can upload a photo, and then you can get people to use the big yellow stickies and put things in different locations. And I know that has passed really, really quick, but I think Jamie said the slides are coming out, so you can have a look at that later on. And that's me. Any questions? What I would say as well is we've got, you know, a variety of links. There's CLD WordPress up in Aberdeenshire. There's the Adult Learning Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and we've got a variety of other things from both East Lothian and Aberdeenshire saying how we've done it and what our challenges were.
Fantastic, Stephen. Thank you so much for that. And I think the key message for me, and hopefully others that are listening to yourself, is that even though when there's barriers, and there's a lot of barriers, especially in local authorities, you can still find ways around it, and you can still help it enhance your practice, and you can still help it work with the children, young people, families and adults that your service is engaging with. And I think that's a really important message when we talk about digital, because we know that different authorities, different organisations have different accessibility options, and the barriers don't have to be the end as such. Fantastic.
Yeah, 100%.